you name 5 professional women's athletes?
I don't watch women's sports.
It's okay if not.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody right now.
This girl really thought she proved like this amazing point. Up next, we're going to react to this viral video that is, of course, coming in the context of the trans sports debate, because the Supreme Court just heard a big case about this where they're going to rule. And I think we all know how they're going to rule with this Supreme Court, but they're going to rule in this ACLU case, challenging state level bans on biologically male trans athletes from women and girls sports that the ACLU and progressives and a bunch of congressional Democrats say are discriminatory and unconstitutional, illegal, all of that. I've already told you my take on that. But I want to show you this video that's going viral from a pro-trans activist and influencer. It's got more than 7 million views, and they really think they did something, but I just don't think that they did at all. Like progressives think, oh, we did our big one with this one, and I think they proved exactly 0 points. Let's listen, and then you can tell me what you think.
Can you name 5 professional athletes in women's sports?
No.
So, and what are you here for?
I'm here to make sure my daughters don't have to play with men.
We're here at the Supreme Court today where they're deciding some important cases about trans athletes. The anti-trans side has a bunch of signs that say protect women's sports. So we're going to ask them if they can name 5 professional women's athletes. What are you here for today?
So the context here is they are literally at the Supreme Court on the day of this hearing, and they're going around to the people who are on the side of biological female-only sports, which they label anti-trans. I actually don't think it's inherently an anti-trans position. I think maybe there's some people who hate trans people and hold that position, but you could totally hold that position because like 80% of people do, by the way, and not hate trans people. It's just common sense and fairness. So anyway, their whole point is we are going to ask people who are here protesting to keep women's sports for females to name 5 professional women's athletes. The funny thing about that is this case is not even out about professional girls sports, or professional women's sports rather. It's about like high school girls and college sports. So it's not even, it still wouldn't be a good argument or gotcha. And I'll get into why. But it's not even really on topic. I don't know. Let's listen. Let's see as they do their big one.
What are you here for today?
I'm here to support women and women's sports.
Can you name 5 professional women's athletes?
No,
Do you watch women's sports?
no, but I don't watch any sports.
Could you name 5 professional athletes in women's sports for me?
Professional athletes in women's sports. Let's see. Currently,
Can you briefly just tell me why you're here? You've got your Protect Women's Sports sign.
Yeah, to support common sense, biblical values.
Do you watch women's sports?
not very much. The Williams sisters who play tennis.
Okay, yeah. Well, Serena's retired, but okay. Can you name 5 professional athletes in women's sports?
It's not really about the professional athletes. Let's see. Other women's sports are.
Can you name 5 professional women's sports athletes?
Sure, Nancy Hogshead, Riley Gaines.
Riley's not a professional athlete. Okay. Can you name 5 professional women's athletes?
I don't watch women's sports.
It's okay if not.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody right now.
This girl really thought she proved like this amazing point. She thought she stumbled on the secret code to how I can debunk all these people who think sports should be separated by biology in high schools and colleges. I'll ask them to name professional women's athletes. And if they can't, then suddenly all those biological realities that make it unfair for biological males to be in women and girls sports in high schools and colleges go away, except for the part where they actually don't at all. Other than that, you're doing great. So, I mean, it's kind of silly because you don't have to be a fan of women's sports to believe that they should exist as a category. Right? Like I also believe women should have access to the opportunities that entail in college and high school sports, and that they should have fair and safe competition. Am I personally a fan of any kind of volleyball, let alone girls and boys volleyball or basketball, high school basketball? No. Does that mean I can't be bothered by people doing things that are unsafe and unfair and taking opportunities away from girls? No, I could still be bothered by that without personally being a diehard college women's basketball fan. I genuinely can't even wrap my head around on how they think this is, oh, just you don't really care that much about women's sports. Okay, I mean, but that's not even really a good point, because I could say to you, for example, to this young woman, do you think the US should invade Venezuela? And I'm sure she would say no. And I could say, name 5 Venezuelan cities. Maybe she could name Caracas. That's it. I promise you she could not name 5 Venezuelan cities. I could ask her, name 5 Venezuelan politicians. Maybe she could name Maduro. I'm sure she couldn't name the vice president. Even then, she couldn't name, any lawmakers, any regional governors. But she knows enough about the issue that I bet you she could still go to a protest saying, hands off Venezuela, and earnestly believe the U.S. should not depose Maduro and invade Venezuela. And her opinion about that is not wrong or illegitimate because she hasn't memorized an encyclopedia entry about the country of Venezuela. But they seem to think if they can do that with women's sports, it doesn't even make sense. Because again, so much of the issue is not about professional sports. It's about high school sports, college sports, young girls having to share changing rooms and locker rooms with intact biological males. And they think they can get out of how crazy that is by playing pop quiz on WNBA. It's just not going to work. It's not going to reverse the fact that y'all are dying on the 20 side of an 80-20 issue. And I think the fact that they ate this up, this got so many millions of views across all platforms, and all these adoring progressives are in the comments like, wow, you showed them, shows that they don't even understand the thing they're arguing against. And that's going to be an immediate roadblock to you actually defeating it in any sort of argument. And that's why they're going to lose. They're going to lose at the Supreme Court. And just more broadly, they've already lost culturally this debate. I want to play you this other video from the ACLU that includes Megan Rapinoe and other high-profile, prominent trans people talking about this Supreme Court case, because I think it plays into a similar theme. Let's listen.
When you're young, you believe that you can do anything. And then the world tries to set limits for you.
Tell you what's allowed,
What's normal.
who you're supposed to be.
But on the field, the track, the court, here, you get to be exactly who you are.
Because at our core, we're still the kids who just want to play. The go big game changers.
The living, breathing fabric of this country.
Supporting trans youth isn't just about sports.
It's about freedom.
On and off the field. It's more than a game.
I hate it here. Imagine actually watching that back and thinking, yeah, we cook with that. Like, we ate with that one. No. This is the worst possible way. I'm sorry, I have to call it the bullshit hypocrisy. Megan Rapinoe, who is retired from professional women's soccer, coming out and suddenly being fined with biological males competing in women's sports is awfully convenient. Why don't you know what, Megan? What if during your career, they just had an open division for the U.S. national team, not a U.S. men's national team and a U.S. women's national team? Just have an open division, because biology doesn't matter and isn't real, according to you. And young girls aren't entitled to their own sex-segregated leagues. So why should you have been? Guess what, babe? You never would have gotten a single cap. You wouldn't have made one appearance. I doubt a single female player would have, because there are such vast differences between men and women biologically. Even if women can be just as skilled at the actual techniques of soccer, the speed, strength differences are seismic. And so it's very easy for her, now that she's retired, to take this position and be such a bold social justice warrior. And these other people are people who say they claim about trans, they claim at least to be people who care about trans acceptance. And yet they have decided to tie that to the dumbest hill ever to die on, the biology denying, safety and fairness denying issue that most everyday people think is lunatic stuff. They're like, yeah, we're going to make it all about that and die on this hill. If they had an ounce of common sense or really cared about preserving freedom for trans people, they'd compromise on this one and say, listen, we're going to meet you in the middle. We understand biology is real. We understand sports need to be kept separate, But we also need to preserve freedom and dignity for people who identify as trans. And so we'll give you this and you give us that. That would be how sane people approach this issue in this conversation. But instead, we get at whatever the hell we just watched in those two videos. Other than that, they're doing amazing. And they look at this and they wonder why the polling and support for them keeps going down, 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 down. I don't know, man. Nobody listens to me. But if they did, a lot of things would be different. I guess that's all I can really say. What do you guys think of this viral video and of this follow-up video from the ACLU? Y'all need to ask the ACLU for refunds. Any of you who are still delusional enough to be giving this activist organization your money, because is there an activist organization in America better at making the things they advocate for less popular than the ACLU? I don't think there is. I really don't think that there is, but keep giving them millions, gullible libs. Oh, you guys let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, yada, yada, yada.